Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Electronic Superjoy Groove City. This is something of a little bit of an anomaly in the indie world, at least. Electronic Superjoy was a super hard, what do they call them since Super Meat Boy came out? Everyone, 3, 2, 1, a tough as nails hardcore platformer that was really, neon and had a big emphasis and focus on its audio-visual elements, and it was quite sexual, which it looks like it wouldn't be based on, the aesthetic that you see in front of you, but there's a lot of, evocative sounds and stuff like that. Anyway, Electronic Superjoy, I covered it last year. Thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was necessarily, the best game the genre's ever produced, but I think it grew on me as time went on. Like, I remember it more fondly than I think I felt about it when I originally played it. And this is a standalone expansion to the game, a standalone sequel, pseudo-sequel, if you will. Kind of like this is the 400 days to Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1. It's $5, it's 15% off for its opening week sale, which will probably be, and it won't be over by the time this video is over, but that changes it from $5 to like $4.30, so it's not that big of a deal. And it contains one quest here, the quest for the laser nipples. I want to point out, right as we get started here, seizure trigger warnings, for sure, if you are prone to, feel sick or worse from flashing lights and stuff like that, pounding sound. Maybe read a text review or something like that. Similarly, this can cause motion sickness. I usually have a really hair trigger for motion sickness, and it didn't cause it in me, but maybe watching it will cause that in you, so prepare. In any case, I've beaten the game, actually, and it seems like a game that is very much focused more along the lines of speed running it than it is, just beating it once. Which, again, the game's overtly sexual. Who just wants to beat it once? Anyway, we're going to start in Groove City here. We're not going to beat the entire game. People are going to, want to know a very important piece of information. The very important piece of information is that the game, for me, took about 35 minutes, 40 minutes. So it is very much on the shorter side of things. And it wasn't even that difficult. So if I'm going to bring up negatives, I actually had a lot of fun playing through this expansion, actually. If I'm going to bring up negatives, that definitely is it. It feels weird to kind of nitpick a game for being $5 when it's, or for being short when it's $5, but by the same time, I was still kind of like, oh, it's over. Did I miss like a whole half of the game or something like that? But that shouldn't be a huge detractor, and for those of you who particularly like to min-max stuff, maybe you're like Nick and you like to, speedrun Super Meat Boy to try to get the top 100 time in the world, then this is more along the lines of something that maybe you'd be into practicing and perfecting. In any case, basically, in Electronic Superjoy, the original game, the story's not that important, but it is, the tone of the game is more important than the actual narrative. But there was a professor stole your butt. I didn't actually beat Electronic Superjoy, although I heard it was quite short. I watched Josh beat it on his stream. I can't remember how long that one ended up being, but I can't remember if you get your butt back or not. But in this one, Groove City, the city that was devastated by the professor before, was now in kind of like an idyllic utopian time, and then, well, shit, a big robot came in here and destroyed everything. Why did the robot destroy everything? Well, it destroyed everything because somebody stole the robot's laser nipples. Now, this is, again, part and parcel with kind of the ethos of Electronic Superjoy. Electronic Superjoy is a game that is, at least in tone, juvenile, but its juvenile tone is very much in contrast to its fairly difficult, at least by modern game standards, platforming elements that you have going on here. So in case you're not familiar with what you're seeing, it's actually very, very kind of easy to explain. There are white and black things in your environment. The black things are typically bad for you unless they are platforms, and the white things are typically good for you. So, stars, good for you. They raise your score. Score doesn't seem to have really that much of an impact on things. But those black ninja stars, those will kill us. Similarly, there are black stars, and when we encounter those, they actually launch missiles at us. So, I actually really like the visual style of the game, and, as much as I actually did enjoy playing through the, Groove City here, I wonder if I can get that star and still make it back. Well, that was a good start. Maybe not. Let's just try to go up here instead. As much as I like playing through Groove City and I respect the gameplay, I think the main strength of the game still is these audio-visual elements. It's a game that looks really stylish, and in particular, the sound and music is great. In particular, of the sound and music. The music, not to say that the sound design is bad. It's very original, unique, let's put it that way. Oh, you can do it, you can't do it. Yeah, the music is done by a composer by the name of Envy. I understand he has a follower, or a substantial following online, I should say. He probably has more than one follower on Twitter, if I had to guess. It's not ENVY, it's just ENV. like with a lowercase n and a capital V, or perhaps with lowercase EV, capital N. I can't remember, but in any case, his music was in Electronic Super Joy the First, and also the Sound Dodger Plus game from Adult Swim that came out on Steam last year, which was also cool. In any case, oh god, I botched that miserably. Let's talk a little bit more about the gameplay. Pretty much, you're just bouncing around here. Flags are checkpoints. It is in your best interest, I suppose, to get stars, but for reasons that are kind of unbeknownst to me. Can I actually get that star down there? Oh, there's a secret area. Okay, this is bullshit. I will explain why this is bullshit. This is the hardest kind of obstacle in the game. You know, there's a few different kinds of puzzles, jumping-wise, the game throws at you. One of them is those, you know, rotating things that we saw back here. One of them is enemies that shoot missiles at you, that home in on you. You gotta kind of dipsy-doodle around them. This one is another kind of archetype, which is you gotta learn how to jump before you actually touch the ground. It's bullshit. It works! It looks like it might be impossible. I swear to you, it works. It's just exceptionally frustrating. So I'm gonna try this one last time. Nope, not even close. We will have, like, over the course of this video, we will have to do a section like that. So I don't want to, you know, do that section right now and shoot my whole wad before we, you know, have to do one that actually gates progress. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of secret areas. I've encountered some of them, and they're gated to achievements. So again, these black stars will launch missiles. These missiles will slowly hunt me down. I thought I'd just, like, dipsy-doodle around them a little bit there and make you feel like I'm actually better at this game than I am, but no such luck. Plenty of shifts in the game in terms of, like, areas that you're at. It moves really, really quickly. And again, that's why I was kind of like, oh, really? Like, the game's over? When I finished it? I actually looked around for a while, like I looked online to see if there was another quest that I just, like, didn't do or something like that. But no, I'm pretty sure this is it. And it is a little bit jarring, but, that being said, I still think it's a worthwhile experience, especially if you enjoyed the original, Electronic Super Joy. If you didn't, well, then this probably isn't the thing for you, but, you know, why are you watching videos of expansions if you didn't like the base game? Well, I appreciate your support, I should say, but also, I don't know. Thanks for keeping an open mind. Maybe that's what you should say. You should say, hey, fuck you, Northernlion, for not trying to expand your horizons and look at different perspectives and stuff like that. You know what? Fair enough. You're a better person than I am. Now, the white walls here are covered in a sticky substance, which I think it's just better to not ask questions about, given the sound effects in the game. And they allow you to bounce up to the top here. There are probably some secret levels that I'm missing, but I'm gonna ignore that for now, just in favor of actually beating the game. These enemies right here are actually, oh, I fucked myself, maybe the most annoying enemies in the entire game. Believe it or not. One of them, no problem. If you get two of them, like on the same platform, it's just like my brain can't handle it. It's like trying to do a Sudoku puzzle while skydiving. Alright, so on this level, we have to charge up the Pope signal. It's one of the few levels in the expansion where it's actually got kind of like a unique gimmick going on here, which is basically that we just have to collect all the lightning bolts. After we collect all the lightning bolts, the Pope signal will turn on, and we will get the Pope here. It's a silly game. It's silly in tone. I have seen some people, like, write negative reviews about the expansion in particular and be like, well, the jokes feel like they were written by a 12-year-old. I don't know if I would agree with that, you know. I feel like these are jokes that 12-year-olds could find funny. I don't think that necessarily means they were written by 12-year-olds, though. You know, Adam Sandler writes jokes for 12-year-olds. He's not 12, last time I checked. Although that might explain a lot. In any case, you know, I think the game's funny enough. It's just silly. I don't really pay too much attention to it. There we go. We did get the Pope signal up here. I don't really pay much attention to the thought that, you know, this is a game made for kids, because it's definitely not, or, you know, tonally for kids. It's just silly, you know, the silliness is part of the fun. You're playing a game where basically you're just hitting a single button on your controller to jump from platform to platform and avoid stuff. Well, yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of a fun element in it as well, or, you know, absurd tone, if you will. And, you know, I like serious platformers sometimes. I love Braid, I love Limbo, etc., but, you know, it's nice to get into the other stuff sometimes as well. I can't believe I've gone this long without even mentioning it, but sincerely, the major strength of the game, beyond the AV stuff, is definitely the controls. The game controls tight. Like, that's the kiss of death for a platformer, obviously, is if controls... Oh, this is not good. A little bit of an Archer reference there. Not that that's, you know, rare these days. Here's the part that's going to frustrate me. So allow me to talk about the controls. But yeah, it's the kiss of death for a platformer if the controls are bad. Luckily, they're perfect for the game, I'd say, or, you know, Is it the best controlling platformer I've ever played? Let's put it this way, there has never been a time when I died, and I did die a decent amount, where I blame the controls. This is the most frustrating part of the entire expansion for me, beyond the secret levels. I don't blame this on the controls, though. Oh shit, we did it. That is a lot harder than it looks, I promise you that. I don't blame it on the controls. In fact, I don't really blame it on anything, implying that it's, you know, objectively bad or something like that, but more like, it's a weird design that is hard to get used to, but maybe it's one of those things where once you practice it more, you actually get better at it. Much like pretty much everything else in life. Now, I didn't get that star over there. That's okay, though. But yeah, I mean, there's not too much more to say on Electronic Superjoy here. We're probably approaching the point where I'm like halfway through the game, so I'm a little bit wary to show off too much more, but I will anyway, because I don't want to upload an 11-minute video. I think if you're looking for an excuse not to buy the game, and I know a lot of people, you know, watch videos with that in mind, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. The price point is something that I could see as being a legitimate turnoff. It's in the cheaper bracket as far as games go, but it's also quite short. But if you're into games like this, then I think it's possibly worth it for you. That's something you're gonna have to evaluate on your own, you know, personal value proposition, though, because a lot of people won't be okay with paying, you know, $5 for an experience that's this short, especially after you've already seen somebody solve a few of the quote-unquote puzzles. But, you know, and then there's some people who will say, like, hey, $5, that's like 2 cups of coffee. Well, there's a lot of people out there who can't afford 2 cups of coffee at the coffee shop anyway, or try to cut down on expenses like that. So I can understand being a little bit more wary about stuff like that, even though I, most of the time, am the guy who's like, hey, $5 for an indie game, you know, that's a pretty good deal. Why are you complaining about price? When a game is on the shorter side to this extent, I understand it. That being said, I would give this a positive review for sure. I've had a fun experience with it. I appreciate that it's short, but this is one of the few games that I actually wish was a little bit longer. When it ended, I wanted more, and maybe that's a good thing. You know, much better than a game kind of wearing out its welcome. That being said, I wouldn't have minded if it was even twice as long, if it was like an hour and a half long. But the levels that are in it are good. Really, the only obstacle that's terrible is that one that I just beat where you had to jump before you actually landed. Apart from that, you know, stuff's tough, but it's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, and it's challenging, but it's rewarding when you actually complete it as well. Level design's good, music is fantastic. Again, really the only negative that I can levy against it is, well, you know, 2 negatives I would levy against it. Quite short, and if you weren't a fan of the original Electronic Superjoy, you're not going to be a fan of this one as well. But I don't know if I'd call that a negative so much as just personal preference. Now, let's see if we can sneak through here. I have gotten an achievement for having, like, X number of missiles following me at the same time, but once you actually reach a checkpoint, the missiles that you gather here are gone. And there's kind of another added level of strategy here, you know. As much as I love Super Meat Boy, one thing I do like about this game, relative to Super Meat Boy, although I still think Super Meat Boy is a better game, no offense, is that there's a little bit of strategy when it comes to, like, triggering the missiles here. Like, if you platform in the best possible way, you actually can avoid a lot of these black stars. Not those ones that I've encountered right there, but you can avoid as many as you possibly can and then make your life a little bit easier, or you can get all of them and kind of, like, you know, manually increase your own level of challenge, but that's up to you. Ooh. And I do think it's weird. Electronic Superjoy is one of those weird games. Oh, yeah, I didn't make the flag. Oh, maybe I did, actually. It's one of those weird games that when it came out, I thought it was kind of forgettable. But it has kind of become, not necessarily a hallmark, but I've been hearing a lot about it. A lot of people saying, like, very, very kind words. A lot of people very much, you know, fond memories of their experience with the game. It's hard to get out of the, you know, video game mindset that you need to absolutely collect all of these power-ups. It actually makes your life harder to do so. There we go, that was much better. And, you know, I think I fall into that crowd as well. Like, when I first played Electronic Superjoy, I was like, you know, it is what it is. Just another, inspired by Super Meat Boy, quote-unquote, tough as nails indie platformer. Sure, whatever. I'm into those. That's probably one of my favorite genres, to be honest with you. But, I didn't find anything that necessarily blew me away, but then, you know, when I think about it, you know, when Groove City came out, I was like, I would totally be down for playing some more Electronic Superjoy. Just kind of one of those weird experiences where, ooh, we can't skip that middle one, huh? Just kind of one of those weird experiences where I was like, yeah, I would, every once in a while, I can totally get down with a little bit more Electronic Superjoy. This is actually a fairly difficult, jumping section as well, but that's okay. I believe we can do it. That was stupid of me. Basically, you just need to survive for a little while in this area because you got to wait for the screen to actually catch up to you. That was a very stupid jump on my part, but I have bought myself a decent amount of time here, I'd say. Now we just jump, and we go down, and we go up, and we go around, and you know the drill at this point. Do a little bit of that. Oh, no! I was doing so well there. Okay, well, I'm sure we can get it on this one. Anyway. So yeah, there's my somewhat complicated thoughts on what's a relatively, at least at first glance, simple game. I think Groove City is cool. I would love to actually see standalone expansions like this become a trend. You don't need to own Electronic Superjoy to actually play Groove City. If you're only gonna pick up one of them, like if you don't own Electronic Superjoy, probably, you know, advisable to actually pick up Electronic Superjoy instead of Groove City, I guess. It's a little bit more of a comprehensive kind of meaty experience, but Groove City's good enough on its own as well to kind of stand up, I think. So I am really mad at myself for my incredibly poor play right now. But yeah, I would love to see more standalone expansions come out. Like, that stuff is really cool. Admittedly, you know, I don't put my money where my mouth is. Like, I loved Walking Dead Season 1. That was my favorite game of 2012, as listed in my, like, year-end coverage stuff that I did. And then 400 Days came out, and I was like, that's a really cool idea. I'll pay $5 for a standalone episode of The Walking Dead. And then I just never fucking played it. So, truth be told, I can't be trusted. But I think that would be cool if it became a trend. Like, how cool would it be if, like, you know, you got some standalone, you know, like a $5 Rogue Legacy DLC, or not DLC, but, like, standalone that just contained, like, one small adventure with, like, one new boss and a new area of the castle, but you didn't have to go through all the grinding. I don't know. Maybe that would be terrible for that game, but hopefully you understand that I'm just spitballing here. Also, Rogue Legacy, a terrible example because they released a bunch of, or one big free DLC pack for that game, if I remember correctly, which included a new boss and everything. So, as usual, I'm talking out of my ass, but mostly I'm just trying to keep my mouth working here so that I can actually escape. There we go. Alright, so this is probably 2/3 of the way through the game. Anyway, there is a link in the video description below to pick up Groove City on Steam if you're interested. As always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the episode, it would mean a lot to me if you click the like button. Helps out a great deal, and of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.